So you've been married how long?
65 years, 4 months, and 11 days.
But who's counting?
I am. No, I'm not.
Well,
We have nothing bad to say about each other in public. But her mother is a devious person. Her mother said to me, "Why don't you call on our store, our restaurant, on Wednesdays?" I said, "Well, Wednesday, I'd sure like it if you were here when those tough guys come from the city." She had punch cards and hot ball, butterball or gumball machines and that sort of thing. And they would pound on the glass counter to get her attention. And then she was scared of them because she knew they belonged to the mafia. I mean, everybody knew that, you know. So she'd ask me to go there Wednesday. So I'd go there Wednesday and I'd stand at the front counter till these guys picked up their stuff and left, you know. And I stood as tough as a 17,
They were picking
18,
up their money.
Yeah, 17 or 18-year-old could do, you know. And Mother and I got pretty well acquainted. She kept saying, "I sure wish you were here when Ethel comes home from college." So one day she said, "Well, Ethel is coming home this weekend."
To do my laundry, of course.
And of course, not to meet me. And so we did just that. On Saturday I went there and we got along very well, but she had on a short skirt and we wanted to go for a bike ride. And I was so embarrassed that I rode behind her all the time so that I wouldn't.
They were separate bikes.
Yeah, separate bikes,
Yes.
yeah. So I rode behind her, and that's the last short skirt she wore, right?
I guess so.
But anyway.
so where was this at?
Go ahead.
This was in Michigan. We had a little restaurant across the street from the Comfort Station on
Telegraph Road.
Telegraph Road in Michigan, and it's all still there except the restaurant, of course. It was a small one that had belonged to my uncle.
And it was Curly's restaurant.
My uncle and aunt had run it for many years, and when we left New Hampshire due to the deep depression and also my grandmother's illness, my father was the nurturing brother of the large family of 11 boys, and so he came back to kind of take care of his mother, who was very ill, and the restaurant was just a street away from it. So he was able to start working in his brother's restaurant and take care of his mother until I graduated from high school. And then on my graduation, which my mother had waited for, we came west to Michigan, where I was born, and where there were many, many relatives. And Mother learned the restaurant business from her sister-in-law and started working there. And that's how we came to be back in Michigan. And a little bit later, my uncles were help in finding my father a night job at the Lincoln plant. So we met at this little restaurant and ice cream stand in Michigan in, let's see, 1940.
No, 1930. 1937. We were together 5
Exactly.
years before.
Exactly.
1937.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we always talk about Mother as the head of the family, but Dad was my hero in everything he did. He was quiet, he was kind, he could fix anything, and he never wanted to hurt anybody. And in his whole life, I've never heard him say a bad word about anyone.
He was especially interested in safety. Everywhere we went, he put up banisters at all the staircases, and he found anything that was loose or fragile.
You met at Ethel's mother's store.
Exactly.
And your first date was a bicycle ride?
Yeah, yes, on a Saturday. She was going back to school on Sunday.
And what happened from there?
Well,
Go ahead.
well, I don't think you went to Lillian's wedding, did you? No, you weren't. You weren't.
I wasn't in the picture
You
then.
weren't in the family long enough to have gone to her wedding, but we did Irish Hills a lot. We would go to the Irish Hills, which was about the only place of any elevation in that flat part of Michigan, and they had a
Iron Lake.
Is that the name of it?
Iron Lake.
And then we would spend some time at the Trianon, which was out of state,
In
really.
Toledo, Ohio. We danced at the Trianon.
And we visited various restaurants down there,
Yeah.
especially your comic restaurant, which was called
Bill and Slim.
Bill and Slim's place, where they always would have some antics to entertain the diners. And it was either saying there was a fire engine nearby and they would come in with hoses.
The hoses would come out of the kitchen, and Bud would be one end, he's a little short guy, and Slim would be at the other end, and he was tall. And they'd come with that hose over their shoulder, and they'd run all the way down the aisle of the restaurant, and they'd have a fire going in a wastebasket, and they'd put it out.
Our entertainment was pretty simple.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever went to movies. I can't remember going to movies.
Remember, they took my mother there. We took my mother to
Oh, yes.
to Toledo, and some of the tricks they pull on you is you can order a steak and you'll get a hamburger, or you can order a hamburger and get a steak. And they put the wrong thing out for Mother. She wanted a steak, and they give her a hamburger. And that little French girl just went apart. And I tell you, we had to almost sit on her. That's not what I ordered, you know. And she pounded the table, and they come and give her a big steak and no cost, and you know, that's it.
His mother was always a favorite of mine. We got along very well, but his father didn't like me very much. I visited him for the first time in the hospital. He was having some lung problems, and he said that he didn't think that his oldest son would ever get along with someone who was a school teacher. So that was what he had against me from the very beginning. But we did finally, after we were married and such, we visited with him, and he was very kind to me. But it was not his idea for us to get married. I remember
You do not
that.
tell an Englishman and tell him what his idea is. He has his idea, and it's going to be his idea.
Well, I don't know who he had in mind for you, but I know it wasn't me. But
It wasn't June Gibbs either.
your former girlfriend. Well, anyway, we did a lot of campus things. When I was a junior, I invited him to our junior prom, and of all things, he ordered from the florist in Michigan a bird of paradise, which had to be brought in from Hawaii. And I remember getting ready for this prom and the girls saying, "We don't know how to pin this on you. We just don't know what to do with a bird of paradise on your formal." So it was a little problem, but it did get him a lot of attention. And
I wasn't alone. You were there.
I know.
You got the attention, too. We had a great time, though. We did a lot of things like that because we were impulsive. We bought the farm in New Hampshire at 3 o'clock in the morning. We were lost trying to find her mother's home, which she knew very well where it was, but it wasn't there. And after we wandered around the Busick Lake Road and all the back roads, we come up over a hill, and there's a big stone wall with all kinds of vegetation on it. And on this side was Nine Elms Farm, great big trees called Nine Elms Farm, and a barn as long as you can imagine with a breezeway
Cape Cod
through
house.
and a Cape Cod house with white, red painted with white awnings and white chimney. And as we got right in front of it, it said, "For sale." I said, she was sleeping on me. I said, "Let's buy it." So we spent the next week trying to find that house. We did find Mother's house that morning. And the next week we spent trying to find that house because we were going to buy it. We walked in, walked through it, and bought it.
I thought we'd never move. I went back to Detroit to sell our little house in Detroit, and he came on to make the arrangements and get a job in New Hampshire. And I thought when we moved in, this is a home where we really learned a good lesson for the rest of our life. You never say never. You never say I'll never move, because you just don't know what the future holds. So I think the farm was a good lesson for us.
Yeah, oh, I don't doubt that at all.
Now Kenny and Kathleen want to go back there together because they said it was the best years of their childhood.
Yeah,
They
that was
really,
marvelous.
they just thought that the farm, of course they had a pony there, which is fun, and we raised pigs and we raised one cow, and we had a lot of family adventure, and a lot of apples to pick and take care of, a few peaches, and a lot of
I won't tell the peach
hills.
story. I won't tell the peach story. Go ahead.
No, but they went to school in Amherst and made a lot of friends there, and I think they were more sorry than anyone when after 5 years we moved to a suburb of Boston for a much, much more lucrative job in Boston with
A junior partner in the brokerage firm, Mordecai and Son.
and a home in one of the little bedroom towns of Boston called Sharon, Massachusetts, which was over 1/3 a Jewish community. And I can remember Kathleen especially saying, "Why aren't we Jewish?" she said. "We have a lot more holidays and days off from school than we have." Today she still corresponds with friends from her school days in Sharon, and their family visits us in Boise, and she visits in Sharon, Mass. with their family, and they have kept up a lot of acquaintances from their school days. So you never know, the people that you meet early in life can become your lifelong friends.
Let me know when you get close to the end.
You want to say something?
No. No, I was going to close it with a kiss.
Oh,
Wow. I think we're getting close.
we are close.
So you, a couple more questions. So you dated for
5 years.
Courted for 5 years.
5 years.
Uh-huh.
We wanted to get married, and Mother and Dad Hawk said,
She's
Ethel,
got to teach you
she's
here.
got to teach you.
She's gotta
She's
teach
got to
you.
learn what it is to earn money.
Uh-huh.
So she taught school for a year, and I worked at Willow Run Barber Plant. No, I guess I was still in the tobacco and candy business.
Uh-huh.
And then after we got married, I was in, they wouldn't take me in the Army because of my heart.
Uh-huh.
So I went to work at Willow Run Bomber Plant as a plant protection.
Uh-huh.
I had the midnight shift from 12 till 8 in the morning.
Uh-huh.
And I was the manager in office. I was not the manager in the field, but I was manager in the office. And that's where my memory did me the most good. I had such a sharp memory back in those days that I knew everybody's number, and I knew every car number. I know where the bad people were that we had to hire because of the union, and we put them in a segregated place so that we could keep our eye on them.
But when I got a job in Dundee, Michigan, you got transferred to the plant in Dundee.
Well, I did that because Willow Run was closing
No,
down.
you did that because I had a day job in.
Okay.
You didn't want to live in Willow Run, and me live in Dundee.
No, that's true.
No.
Chasing that pretty young hawk girl, huh?
I tell you.
Well, when we were married, it was a lot better to be living in the same place.
Sure.
It was. So we
Here's
were.
your kiss.
And you're in the
See you
dark
later.
glasses.
Do it again.